Greetings once again. Thanks for joining me for yet another edition of Electric Avenue's YouTube updates, coming to you with the new releases for October 10th, 2025. October, one of my favorite times of the year. I feel like there's been a ton of new releases coming out, and I don't know how people are doing with keeping up on all of them. It always seems this time of year people get sort of wrapped up in school or their work or whatever, and then all of a sudden it hits them like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I missed all of these things. And so anyway, that's I'm kind of trying to keep you sort of informed. So if you feel like it, you can go back and watch some of the weeks that maybe you missed just to see what all you missed. So, well, last week the big thing was this, which we didn't have when we did the video. So now I have it. Taylor Swift, Life of a Showgirl. It's already broken all sorts of records for streaming, for sales, and she had an informative movie over the weekend about it. I have to say, I actually like the album. I like the cover art. I thought they did a really beautiful job with the imagery of this record. Some people were saying, oh, well, Kylie Minogue did something like this like 17 years ago or whatever. Well, kids aren't going to remember that. And it's not like she cornered the market on Showgirls, even though I love her. So, and I think this is a very strong record, especially the first 4 or 5 tracks. Fate of Ophelia is great, and the video is beautiful, stunning. How much money they spent on that. I really think Elizabeth Taylor is a cool song. It's kind of a darker, kind of hits that Lana Del Rey vibe a little bit. Opalite is just a great little pop tune, and Father Figure. I love that she kind of sampled a George Michael song, and I think that it's kind of cool the way the imagery is sort of flipped, where she's sort of the one in control and kind of saying like, I'm going to help out the younger pop princesses whenever I can. I'll sort of be like, I've been through the ringer of big business. And I'm sure that people like Madonna probably could have said the same thing in some of their songs. But it's cool that she's so frank about it, saying things like, my dick is bigger than yours and stuff like that. It's like, ballsy for a pop princess. Granted, she's in her mid-30s. So anyway, that's the other thing is people get so like, oh, the imagery, and there's a song about wood and Travis's body part. I mean, it's my least favorite song on the record. I don't know if it necessarily belongs there, but come on. I mean, she's a 35-year-old woman. She's probably going to be having babies soon, possibly once she gets married. I don't know. But yeah, come on. Life of a Showgirl, the title track with Sabrina Carpenter, is a cute way to end the album. It's got a kind of a nice melody to it. Canceled is pretty dark. Actually, some of these songs are rather dark, actually romantic. I know that there's been a lot said about her taking on Charlie XCX. I kind of think that almost overshadows what's just kind of a good, one of the better sort of dissy rock tracks on this record. But anyway, that wish list is pretty great. I think Ruin the Friendship is also kind of haunting in a way. I mean, it's maybe sort of reductive to say, oh, this guy is dead and now you wish you could kiss him again. But it's, I don't know, there's a certain like nostalgia haunting aspect of it. It sort of infuses a lot of Taylor's writing. And I think with this album, she managed to rein in a lot of the excesses that maybe were on Tortured Poets department. So anyway, I give it basically a thumbs up. I've seen kind of some different reviews ranging from 4s to 10s or 100s, and out of 10 or 100, I'd probably put it for me in a 7.5, 8 range. So I think it's probably a better record than Tortured Poets. But all of Taylor's records are, I mean, anything since like maybe the second or third one, they're all pretty great in their own way. So I don't think that there's any kind of lapse in quality or anything. Like I said, I love the imagery and all the sort of different covers. There's we have the CD. There's also an acoustic version coming out, and there are 4 different CD covers for that. So, and that I think is supposed to be showing up soon. So anyway, what are your feelings? Leave a comment or something like that. I mean, I know there are going to be people that, trash her and whatever, but it's cool. Also, they did on this orange glitter vinyl, which, attention to detail, I suppose. I'll say, I think the way she has been handling indie stores lately has kind of slacked compared to what it was like a couple years ago. Things were getting much better, and then all of a sudden you're back in with Targets and all the big boxes, and I'm not a fan of that. Honey's the weakest song on the album, but other than that, I think, or is Wood, probably Wood is, but those two are kind of like I could take or leave, but the rest of it I think is pretty great. So not gonna lie, but I will at the end of this video give you 5 recommendations that I have for pop albums sung by female artists that I actually like better than this record, that I think maybe some of y'all should check out. Because it can't all be Taylor, can't all be Sabrina, and that's just me. All right, let's get on to new releases for this week. Let's see. First thing up, you usually do like box setty things first. This is kind of a box set. It's Tom Petty Wildflowers. This is the Because Sound Matters audiophile edition that Warner Brothers puts out. They just did Prince's Purple Rain a couple weeks ago, and this is a 2 LP edition. This runs in the 120s. It says original release date November 1st, 1994. This came out a few years ago now as an expanded record with a 3rd record of bonus material. So you get Wildflowers and then the songs that didn't make the album for a much more reasonable price. And then there was also the box sets that were over a couple $100 that had tons of extras. So this is basically trying to get, this is a 1-step. So that means that there's only 1 step involved in sort of the transfer of the audio. So it's the cleanest sort of transfer, supposedly, that you could probably get out of this. And this is such a classic album. My favorite album of his, featuring You Don't Know How It Feels, You Wreck Me, It's Good to Be King, Don't Fade on Me, Higher Place. It's just such a great album, Wildflowers. So I highly recommend it if you're into Tom Petty or anything like that. But I don't know if I'll have a lot of these on the shelf because they are so expensive. So if you want one, you may have to let me know. But I'm glad to see them doing that record because it is very deserving of that treatment. A sort of a controversial release this week is John Lennon and Power to the People. And this is John and Yoko, Plastic Ono Band. And this is the album, it says, with Elephant's Memory and Special Guests, live at the 1-to-1 Concert, New York City, 1972. So originally, I think this was the Sometime in New York City album that was put out back in the day. Had completely different cover art. It was like, almost looked like a newspaper kind of thing. And it did feature the song Woman is the N-Word of the World. And that song, you can still find it on, obviously, original copies of the album. You can find it on the Shaved Fish compilation best of and other early best ofs. But it has been sort of removed, and I would say it's been sort of negated from history because people don't like using the N-word, obviously. It's not, 2025, although there seems to be a portion of America that seems to think that they should be using it all the time. So what is it when words kind of come up and get canceled and stuff? And this is why I always say, like, words matter when people are like, why does such and such bother you or whatever, And I'm like, because words matter. Eventually things cascade down and they can get taken out of context and change the context of our lives. So Cher, even her recent greatest hits album did not feature the song Half Breed because of all of the sort of like things that brings in about what is her Native American heritage. Why was she wearing Indian headdresses or Native American headdresses on in the cover art, the promotion of these out, and it was a number one hit in like 1972. But it's been basically canceled because of those sorts of things, and so has John Lennon's "Woman Is the End of the World." People were saying, yeah, I think that Sean Lennon really wanted to try and include it. He was the one sort of in charge of this project, and the label said no, no, no. And he was like, but it was actually the single from the album that promoted the album, and they're like, yeah, but it's not going to fly in 2025. So it does not appear here. What does appear are a lot of great songs. I mean, you get things like Well, 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 Instant Karma, Mother, Come Together, Imagine, Cold Turkey, and then, of course, you get things like Give Peace a Chance at the end with special guests. This is not cheap. This double LP is almost $70. This is the ultimate mixes. It says a hybrid show. So there is a box set that contains the complete shows. Very expensive. I think it might only be on CD. It's like $250. So that's why I don't have those sitting around. Although I do have one that is on hold for someone. Let me see if I can grab it out here. Heavy. Oh yeah. There's the CD box. All right. So if you're interested, you gotta let me know. But none of the editions of this have "Woman Is the End of the World," so that song has been taken off. This also features it's 9 CDs and 3 Blu-rays, so it features things like the ultimate mixes, the 2 concerts, hybrid concert, a studio jam, a couple of live jams. So it's pretty much everything, and it's this lenticular cover. So it is nice, but and that's CDs, so ain't cheap. Ain't cheap. All right. Gosh, sometimes I feel like I got to be a weightlifter. We need to be doing strength training for this stuff. Okay, a couple other things here. Grateful Dead, Blues for Allah came out as a picture disc a couple weeks ago. Now they put out a black vinyl edition of it. I'm surprised they haven't done a color vinyl of it yet. They're probably saving that for like January for Rhino's Start Your Year Off Right or something like that. But this is one of their biggest albums of the 70s. So that's back in print on black vinyl. This might be of interest to some people. This is Madonna, and it's Veronica Electronica. Now, this is also a controversial release. Why? Because, well, it was done in the Ray of Light era, so it features a lot of the remixes from the stuff from the Ray of Light period. Remixes of Drowned World, Ray of Light, Skin, Nothing Really Matters, Sky Fits Heaven, Frozen, and Power of Goodbye. Now, all of those mixes, or I think most of them, were available at the time that the album came out in 1997. And these are all edited versions, so they cut them down actually instead of being the full-length versions. And they added the original demo version of Gone, Gone, Gone at the end, which is a very nice song. Could have been on the album. And so there is one unreleased song here. The rest of them have been released, but it wasn't, this wasn't exactly what Veronica Electronica was supposed to be at the time. Producer William Orbit said, oh, this is going to be like, she did one sort of 20-minute jam sort of thing where she was kind of chanting and stuff, and he was doing all sorts of ambient spacey keyboards and things like that. Well, no, they decided that they wanted to make it more of a commercial thing, so they kind of chose the remixes from it. I think that they're sort of focusing on bringing attention to Madonna because she's in the studio working on what is supposedly being called Confessions on a Dance Floor Volume 2 with Stuart Price, who produced the original. That's a fantastic album from 2008, I believe. So if she's doing that, that could bring her a little back into the mainstream here as she sort of, before it gets to be too late. So to do something like, yeah, she got to do all the stretching. You got the leg warmers. And so anyway, but yeah, so there is that Madonna piece this week for America. I think it came out in Europe a little while back. So I know it's been on streaming a little bit, I think. St. Paul and the Broken Bones, their new album, self-titled. Uh, don't have a lot to say about it except they're a great soul, kind of soul, blues, soul, funk band from the South. And 10 tracks on Oasis Pizza Records. So that's I don't know if that's a new label for them, if they've been on that for a while, but I sort of lost track. All right, and another new record this week from Flock of Dimes, and this is Jen Wassner. This is the Loser edition. This is on Sub Pop Records. I'm trying to remember the name of her other band right now. I have some other Y Oak, and she's an incredible writer and singer and artist, and I kind of like most everything that she does. Flock of Dimes tends to be a little more kind of flighty than, or like more kind of airy and experimental than Y Oak, which tends to be a little more sort of like rock based, I guess. But I don't know. I'm interested to hear it. I do like her voice is beautiful. She's got a great voice. So new album from Richard Ashcroft of the Verve fame. It's a new solo record, a limited edition blue vinyl called Lovin' You. He was recently out on tour in the UK opening for Oasis and playing things like Bittersweet Symphony, I'm sure. There's at least one song here produced by Mirwais, who used to work with Madonna. He did her music, the song Music. Anyway, I don't know, Chris Potter, and I'm not going to butcher that name, but yeah, new Richard Ashcroft, new Robert Finley record, and Robert, call him a vintage artist at this point. He is on Easy Eye Records, Easy Eye Sound, which is Dan Auerbach of Black Keys record label. He's been on that label for a while now. This album's called Hallelujah, Don't Let the Devil Fool Ya. Words to Live By. Yellow and black splatter vinyl. He returns with a soul-stirring album that blends deep blues, southern grit, and spiritual fire, including backing vocals by his daughter, Christy Johnson, and produced by Dan Auerbach. He delivers a powerful testament to faith, family, and the music that made him. Music that's perfect for a Saturday night as it is for Sunday morning. So songs like I Want to Thank You, Praise Him, Holy Ghost Party, His Love. So I think it probably goes somewhere between gospel and blues, maybe. That's very cool. Speaking of legendary, Public Enemy and their new album, Black Sky Over the Project's Apartment 2025. I'm sure that Chuck D and Flava Flav have a lot to say about what's going on in the world right now. So let's see. Confusion, Here Come the Drums, What I Said, Ageism. Let's see. Anyway, it says executive produced by Chuck D, Flava Flav, the LBX, and Rhiannon Ray Ellis. And it's on Enemy Records and Flava Flav Records. So, new Public Enemy in 2025. I don't know if people talk about Public Enemy enough anymore. I feel like they were just such a groundbreaking rap band or group back in the late 80s. And I think the young kids could probably stand to hear some of it. So Khalid and his new album, I think this is maybe his third, After the Sun Goes Down. And I believe this is on some kind of blue vinyl. He was the one that I think he had his album American Teen a few years ago. So it's been a little while. But yeah, Khalid's still making music. So there's that guy. And a jazz release this week, Charles Lloyd. And this features Jason Moran and Martin Sewell. And it's called Figure in Blue. And this is a double record. And it's on Blue Note. And Abide With Me, Hinahanta, The Way of Peace, Figure in Blue, Memories of Duke, Desolation Sound. Closes with his take on Somewhere, the Leonard Bernstein from West Side Story. Charles has got to be getting up there, but Jason Moran, I don't know, there's some really great collaborators on here, so I think it's very cool that he's still making records, and he's got his Blue Note record deal. So glad to see her note about how she's doing better, but she did say that she's been fighting some stuff. Dolly Parton live in London, and this is I think a more recent show, but anyway, sold out. What is she doing here? Two Doors Down, Jolene, Backwoods Barbie, Coat of Many Colors, Only Dreamin', Better Get to Livin', Shinola, Little Sparrow. Ends with 9 to 5, I Will Always Love You, Islands in the Stream, and Jesus and Gravity. I'm sure it's great. This is actually recorded in 2009, so this is a reissue, but probably one that was either not on vinyl or was hard to get. Let's see, Madison Cunningham and her new record. This is called Ace, and I don't know what color vinyl it is. She's the one who, her last project was a reimagining of the Buckingham Nicks album she did with Andrew Bird. So if you did not hear that, you might want to hear it. It's sort of a more folky take on it. Or if you enjoy her at all, check out her new album Ace. There's so many modern folk bluegrass artists that are just hitting it out of the park right now and are like big names, whether it's Billy Strings, Molly Tuttle, Sierra Farrell. There's just a lot of them, and the level of talent is great. Testament and a new album from them, Parabellum. I said that right. This is the copper vinyl pressing. Testament goes way back to the 80s, and sort of like big in the metal scene. Infanticide AI, Witch Hunt, Nature of the Beast, Havana Syndrome. If you don't know what Testament's like by now, I don't know. Google that. MJ Lenderman, it's sort of a reissue of his live record, MJ Lenderman and the Wind, Live and Loose. This was actually featured on Record Store Day earlier this year, and now it's out again just as a regular reissue because the others all sold out. Songs feature TLC Cage Match, Rudolph, Toontown, Dan Marino, Catholic Priest, SUV, Someone Get the Grill Out of the Rain, Taste Just Like It Costs, and Long Black Veil featuring the Styrofoam Winos. So some of these new people are really interesting. Okay, he's also in the band Wednesday, just for future note there. Big Blue Note Tone Poet reissue this week, I Quebec, and this is the complete Blue Note 45 sessions. So this is actually a triple LP in the $80 range, mastered from the original analog tapes, all of I Quebec's Blue Note singles, first time on vinyl in nearly 40 years. It was done by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. Quite a tome of knowledge, information. I see Earl Van Dyke, Skeeter Best, Willie Jones, Sam Jones, Milt Hinton, A lot of like luminaries in the jazz world. So there was that. Then Verve actually, so I don't know how many jazz series there are. There's a lot. But Verve is now starting a new series called Verve Vault. And this is the first record issued Sunny Side Up, featuring Sonny Stitt along with Sonny Rollins, and Dizzy Gillespie is the sort of, I guess, main draw on this, because he gets the full and they get sort of little parts of this picture. But this was actually 1959, so early, but very cool and good to see Verve Vault. So these are done by Ryan K. Smith at Sterling Sound. He did a lot of the what they were calling the Verve Acoustic Sound series as well. So I guess this has beloved jazz classics from Verve, Impulse, and Mercury. So that's new series. Also, the other one they did this week, Antonio Carlos Jobim, and the composer of Decifinato plays. And this is a great, if you're into like samba, bossa nova, Brazilian jazz, and it's great. Featuring Dreamer, One Note Samba, The Girl from Ipanema, Corcovado. Really great. Great. And know if I think this is the instrumental album. So yeah, other reissues this week. There's a lot of them again. Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, and this is the debut, 10th anniversary already. Now it makes sense. He's had probably 5 or 6 albums at this point. This is the self-titled debut that ignited a movement. Includes the hit singles S.O.B., I Need Never Get Old, and Look It Here. 2 LP set featuring 11 previously unreleased demos on translucent black vinyl. So if you have that album, if you want what I would call a better, more modern pressing of it, the originals are a little flimsy, but not bad. Michael Bublé and a reissue of his album, It's Time. This is the 20th anniversary edition of this. Michael, such a little kid there. He's like an old man now. So anyway, this is the global breakthrough album. Over 10 million copies sold. 25 songs on 2 LPs. Includes 2 never before heard songs from the sessions, including the original penned Just Like You and I'll Be Seeing You. There's a couple of live. He does a live Feeling Good. There's even a remix of Home along with the regular Home. So anyway, that's hard to read. Sorry. All this silver, glossy, shiny. This is exciting. Patti Smith and a reissue of her album Horses. This is was her sort of big debut record. And this is the 50th anniversary. 50 years. 2 LP set featuring the iconic album remastered direct from the original master tapes, with previously unreleased outtakes and rarities, including her 1975 RCA audition tape. That's pretty cool. It's produced by John Cale, and I don't know. She's also such a great author at this point. But anyway, Patti, doing it for the ladies. I'm really excited about this. People who know me know how much I like this band. So it's cool to see these things get reissued. Sparks, Indiscreet, and Sparks, Big Beat. Big Beat, photoed by Richard Avedon. Indiscreet was their 3rd album. This is on a limited Tiger's Eye vinyl. It features the singles Get in the Swing and Looks, produced by Tony Visconti. So the first 2 Sparks albums were kind of a pretty big deal in the UK when they came out. Kimono My House and Propaganda. This is the CD edition of that had bonus tracks on it. Those featured things like This Town Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us, Amateur Hour, Talent as an Asset, Propaganda, At Home, At Work, At Play, Never Turn Your Back on Mother Earth, Something for the Girl with Everything. These are like the quintessential like Sparks tracks. They were very sort of glam rock, a mix of Bowie and Queen and T-Rex, but they were from Los Angeles. And this album, the third one, things started getting a little more complex. And the two brothers were like, let's start switching it up a little bit. Let's add in marching band. So that's why you get things like Get in the Swing that sounds like, you're at a parade and it's like, marching downtown. Things like Happy Hunting Ground, Tits, The Lady is Lingering. Those are all great. Looks is funny. It's a very like 1920s kind of flapper sounding song. It's when things started getting a little more like people didn't know where they were going. So, and it wasn't as big of a commercial success as the early ones. And so they came out with the next one, which was Big Beat. And here they sort of changed producers. They got this produced by Rupert Holmes, the guy who sang the Pina Colada song, and him. He also has become quite an author in the more recent years. But I think they were going for obviously in a more American audience on this record, and more of a pinup kind of cover there for Russell. But this album is definitely more rock feel to it. Big Boy. I think it's sort of almost like a treatise on like toxic masculinity, because it seems like the songs are about being sort of macho and controlling women, but it's almost like Randy Newman, where they're coming from a place of they're trying to illuminate the subject. And if you don't know what they're saying, it could come off as offensive. Sort of like how Randy Newman has the Redneck song where he keeps dropping the N word, or the song about short people where he keeps talking about them in negative ways. But it's like he's like saying, hey, these are people too. Stop like being such a jerk, And so Sparks, their issue on this album, at least Ron wrote most of these lyrics. A lot of about women. Big Boy, obviously, I Bought the Mississippi River, kind of a self-aggrandizing song. Then you get Throw Her Away and Get Her a New One. Throw Her Away and Get a New One, which is all about like how women are replaceable or something. And White Women, even further, which sort of talks about like how, I'll only take a white woman or something like that. Well, I think at the time, I would say mid 70s, people were much more open to like sort of the beginning of that, or had already been like more mixed race kind of relationships. And they were just illuminating that, but it comes off as like you're not really sure what they mean. So anyway, but it has a more rock feel to it. I think they've always kind of been compared to like, that Queen Bowie type thing. But and then the CD for this, unfortunately, one of their most interesting songs from this era that ended up, or it might be from this era actually, from the Indiscreet album, was their cover of the Beatles' I Want to Hold Your Hand. If you've never heard it, it's like one of the weirdest covers of that song ever. It's like really slowed down Lounge Lizard. It's totally like crazy. So anyway, what they do. But entertaining for sure. All right, I'm not done here yet, guys. There's a few more. Oh. All right, and then I got some things I have to say here at the end. Thin Lizzy, Chinatown, a new reissue remaster of this great album. It said anniversary edition. I'm not sure what year. Probably 45th, maybe 50th. I don't know if it's quite that far back. But anyway, it's this is Friday Music did that. A couple of great reissues from Music on Vinyl. We've got The Byrds, Turn, 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 which it is hard finding copies of this album that are not damaged. So this is kind of nice that they did this. 1,500 individually numbered copies on blue vinyl. Features Turn, Turn, Turn. He Was a Friend of Mine. It Won't Be Wrong. Set You Free This Time. Featuring Jim McGuinn, Gene Clark, David Crosby, Chris Hillman, and Mike Clark at that stage. So there's that. Another album that from my era that I absolutely love, ABC's How to Be a Zillionaire. This is their third album and features the American hit Be Near Me, which was a top 10 hit here, and also How to Be a Millionaire was a top 20 or 30 hit. And they recently, I saw them play this, Martin Fry, with other people, and it's amazing how to Be a Millionaire, that song, it totally resonates with today. This was like mid 80s, like great production, kind of the era of like Frankie Goes to Hollywood and all that sort of ZTT stuff, but very like also very knowing about like money and what's going on economically. The first track, Fear of the World, is sort of like a pop sort of like retelling of what's going on in the world today, even today. And How to Be a Millionaire, well, those lyrics resonate for what we're dealing with right now, how big money is always winning out. So great album. And another great album of that era, OMD, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, Crush. This is also a deluxe reissue of this. This is a 2 LP, 40th anniversary, remastered and expanded. I can't believe it's 40 years. Extensive notes. 2 LP includes 7 previously unreleased tracks and 4 extended remixes of So in Love, Secret, La Femme Occident, and Concrete Hands. So in Love was a pretty decent sized American hit. This came, I think it was right after? Must have been right after If You Leave was such a big hit from Pretty in Pink. So it's kind of the follow-up. Secret's a great song. Yeah. I love the last track, The Lights Are Going Out. Kind of dark, actually. Not just because the lights are going out. It's sort of a dark song. Another great album of this era, 85, 84, 85. Although I think this was maybe 83. But anyway, Naked Eyes, their first album was a great album, and but it wasn't perfect, but it was definitely a great synth pop album. All 3 of these were. This one is a 1983 album featuring Promises, Promises, and Always Something There to Remind Me. Includes a second LP containing bonus B-sides and remixes by John Jellybean Benitez, pressed on 2 blue vinyl with new sleeve notes by lead singer Peter Byrne. The other guy in this group, Rob Fisher, after their second album sort of flopped, he moved on to production, formed a group, Simon Climby, which was with Climby Fisher. Climby Fisher was the band. Simon Climby was the other guy in it with him, who is now or has been Eric Clapton's collaborator for a long time. But Peter Byrne and not Pete Burns, that's dead or alive. Peter Byrne and Rob Fisher. This album, Always Something There to Remind Me, was a huge hit in the U.S. Kind of a synth pop remake. Promises, Promises. The U.S. single version is what they put on here, which I appreciate because I think it's better than the original one they had. And When the Lights Go Out was also a hit single. And the remix of Promises, Promises actually features a few spoken lines by one of Jellybean's collaborators, a woman named Madonna. So that's cool. Great, I'm going to lose my voice now. Foals and a reissue of their album, What Went Down, the 10th anniversary, Coke bottle, green vinyl. Foals are great. I love them. I love this group. I have a soft spot for them. Girls Aloud, Chemistry, I know. So they're like the biggest, America does not really know them. They're like the biggest girl group behind like the Supremes and maybe Bananarama in the world ever, or even maybe the Go-Go's. I don't know. They might have sold about as many records as the Go-Go's, if not more. I know. Um, Bigger than the Spice Girls because they had more albums, 5 or 6. I think Spice Girls only had what, 3. But this was their second album. Second album, the one that sort of really made them huge successes in the UK. We had Kimberly, Nadine, Cheryl, Nicola, and Sarah unfortunately passed away a few years ago. She had breast cancer, and it was just incredibly tragic. She wasn't even 40 years old. Uh, Beautiful and talented, and one of the leaders of this group. And they did some reunion shows earlier this year and paid homage to her, and they were just very, very gut wrenching experiences. But anyway, yeah, Chemistry was a great album. Hit Pack third album on pink vinyl includes Biology, Whole Lot of History, Long Hot Summer, and See the Day. And I'll talk at length to people who ask me, why do you like Girls Aloud so much? But a lot of it has to do with their production team too, Xenomania, who really kind of flipped the script on what pop songs are. And a lot of times they just start with the chorus, whereas traditional pop songs always started with verse, then chorus, then verse, then chorus, then bridge, then chorus. That's sort of the structure. Girls Aloud, it was always like, here's a chorus, here's another chorus. Wait, is there a verse? All we hear is catchy stuff. And that's kind of a unique thing. And so their song structures are really quite different than most regular pop songs up to that point. And Girls Aloud was kind of the one that sort of broke that model a little bit. So, they have a song called Models. Is it on this album? It is. Anyway, wink, wink reference. Okay, a couple last things here. Toots and the Maytals. This is classic reggae featuring new album artwork on red vinyl. That's pretty cool. I love Toots for some reggae. And the Scatolites and another sort of, these are done by Culture Factory. And those are pretty cool. Color vinyl, sort of a greenish. And Rocky Horror Picture Show, a reissue on 50th anniversary on red in gold vinyl. Includes a handwritten session diary and previously unseen photos from producer Richard Hartley. And it's got this cool gold like lining to show, hey, it's 50 years. Oh my God, another 50-year thing. Excuse me, a couple CDs to show. I showed the Sparks with the extra tracks on that. There's 9 extra songs on a third disc. Peter Gabriel, Tanking the Pulse. Is that what it is? Taking the Pulse. Tanking the Pulse. Taking the Pulse. This is a live show from 2010 on Blu-ray. A couple other things I didn't show, but they're available on vinyl. Dropkick Murphys and their new record, For the People. They've been very vocal against the Trump administration recently. And Jay Som and her new record, Belong. And she's interesting and producing other artists and whatever. So I was going to mention at the end here, as much as I love Taylor Swift, there's like 5 other albums by artists that I think I maybe enjoy as pop albums more. And I'm not saying don't buy Taylor at all, because I think it is good. But I love these records. So Sophie Ellis Bextor, Perry Menopop, sort of an album that mixes kind of dance disco, and sort of like themes of getting older and how you can't bring back the past. You can sort of try to emulate the past, but you can't live in the past. And it's from someone who has had 5 kids and one of the hardest working women still in the business, and beautiful artist, beautiful singer, beautiful videos, catchy songs, talented. She worked with Nile Rodgers on a track on this album. I think it was Diamond in the Dark. also worked with Ed Harcourt, singer-songwriter. Some of you might know him. She and Ed collaborate a lot on her last few records. Most of the others were sort of more like kind of singer-songwriter. So this one's a little more kind of appealing to the dance audience since she had that big hit from the Saltburn movie a couple of years ago, last year. That was actually like a 20-year-old song. Alison Goldfrapp and her album Flux, longtime pop singer, and but she does a lot of edgy stuff, a lot of experimental stuff. And I just thought that this one, for me, I really enjoyed it. I know some people will find certain things about it kind of airy, but I think it sort of pays homage to a lot of her past work while also being about one of the most accessible kind of records that she's made for like the general audiences. And it's the first on her new label. It's called Flux. So I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the new Marina album, Princess of Power. Again, an album about women sort of like finding their role and in a very like all of a sudden aggressively macho world. The lead single, Cantissimo, is hysterical. I think the way that she sort of repeats that over and over. But she's always been very sort of, I don't know, kind of sarcastic with the way that she sings and writes. She's got a great voice that sort of swoops and can do all of these different things. She plays almost like different characters with her vocals, and I thought that that was a really fun record, at the same time very like deep in the topic range, like, and that's what I like about some of these records is they like even Taylor's record, they go a little bit deeper than what, you know, we used to think of like pop music as being pure fluff or something like that. And some of it is, but Saint Etienne, Sarah Cracknell and her two collaborators, Bob and Pete, is one of my favorite pop records of the year. And it's got songs like Brand New Me that are very kind of paying homage to their past and fun sort of sounds of like the early 90s. And then songs like Glad, which are sort of like, you know, just being happy with where you are in life right now, that, you know, things might not be, you might be looking at like fewer days ahead than you had in the past, but don't let it get you down. You know, it's a very positive kind of thing. There's some great duets on here. There's Nick Hayward on one track, and there's also like a lot of collaborations, members of Chemical Brothers, Orbital, Erasure, who else? It's just one of my favorite records of the year. It'll probably be on my list at the end. And I would be remiss if I did not mention the new album from Ivy. And this is also called Traces of You. And they lost Adam Schlesinger to COVID a few years ago and went on as Dominique and Andy's marriage was breaking up. They still were like, the music, it's all about the music, and brought in a third member. And it's a really great sort of modern kind of cool, breezy pop record with some sort of like mentions of, you know, losing people or things of the past that have kind of moved on. You can't bring them back. Adam, you know, was a member of Fountains of Wayne and what wrote the songs for That Thing You Do, the movie. So he was very integral in this band as far as their sound and their writing. And so they basically used some of his leftover tracks that he had and built new songs around them or finished them. And it's a haunting, beautiful, and it's still sort of optimistic, even though it's kind of a dark subject matter. So those are 5 recommends that I say. If you don't want to listen to Taylor Swift, but you want some good pop music with good women singers, I recommend all of those highly. So, all right, it's getting to be a long video. Thanks, guys, so much. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Happy October, what is it, Columbus Day weekend? I don't know what they call it now. But whatever. it might be a long weekend for some of you. So, and it's getting colder. It's starting to feel like fall. All right, peace. See you next time.